right, number 27 on section 6.7. So let me write down the problem. X cubed minus 5x squared plus 12x plus 144 over x squared, and then it's x squared plus 12x plus 36. So that can actually factor into x plus 6 squared, right? Okay, so that actually just gives us two different linear factors, and both of them are repeated. So when we set this up, it would be a over x plus b over x squared plus c over x plus 6 plus d over x plus 6 squared. So linear factor repeated, linear factor repeated. Does that make sense? I know when we start throwing those squareds in, we think, wait, is this an irreducible quadratic factor? We start mixing up the difference between a repeated linear and an irreducible quadratic. So these are all linears. All right, let's do this thing. So I multiply by my least common denominator. I'll have x cubed minus 5x squared plus 12x plus 144. I would cancel out the x with the a, but I would still have an x and an x plus 6 left. I would cancel out the x squared. See, in case you're not sure what we're multiplying by here, the least common denominator would be x squared times x plus 6 squared. So x cancels, I have x times x plus 6 squared left. Then I have b, the x squared cancels, but I still have x plus 6 squared. Then an x plus 6 cancels, but we still have c times x squared times x plus 6. And then for d, the x plus 6 squared cancels, so we just have dx squared. Okay, so at this point we need to choose a method. We could let x equal 0, and that would get rid of everything but b, so we could find b. We could let x equal -6, and that would get rid of everything but d, so we could find d. Or we could just gather terms and have a system of equations and use some method to solve it, which, as we discovered when we did that on example 5 or whatever it was, that took quite a while. Whereas sometimes just using a convenient x method to find something first can really end up speeding things up a little. So why don't we do that? Let's let x equal 0. So what's going to happen is that all three of these terms will cancel out because they all have zeros or x's in them, right? So we'll be left with 144 on the left. And then the a will cancel because there will be a 0 here. B will be left. C will cancel because of this 0 there. D will cancel because of the 0 there. So 0 here, 0 here, 0 here. So all we will have left is b times 0 plus 6 squared. So 144 equals 36b. Divide both sides by 36, tells us what b is. I should know that math in my head. 4. So b is 4. Okay, now that we know that b is 4, we can seriously just throw that in anywhere that we have b as we do the rest of the problem, because we know b is 4. So if you want, you can just replace that b with a 4 right there. Of course, we're going to replace it in our answer as well. But so for the whole rest of the problem, you can throw that in there if it's helpful. Okay, now we were going to let x equal -6. Now this one's going to be a little trickier because that means we have a -6 cubed minus 5 times -6 squared plus 12 times -6 plus 144. That's one of those times you might want to actually plug in a number by using synthetic division. I'm just going to throw the whole thing in my calculator. So negative 6 cubed is negative 216. And then negative 6 squared is 36 times negative 5. So negative 180. And then negative 72. Yeah, this problem's annoying. Plus 144. Alright, put it all together. Negative 216 minus 180 minus 72 plus 144 is, see if I got the same number you got, negative 324. Okay, the rest of this is going to be a lot easier because when we plug in that negative 6, we get a 0 here, we get a 0 here, we get a 0 here. So that will just leave us with d times 6 squared. And d times 6 squared would be 36d. So we take our negative 324 and we divide by 36, and we get negative 9. Okay, so that means anywhere that we have a d, we can throw in that negative 9 instead if we want. Okay, we have 2 out of 4 of our numbers. Moving on, maybe instead of doing this format, I'll just roll it down. Okay, I can still see this. So at this point, maybe I should gather up my terms. Okay, so I have my x cubed minus 5x squared plus 12x plus 144. Why am I just realized why my stuff writing was turning out so weird. I felt like my handwriting was being challenged today, and then I realized that my tablet is turned weird. Okay, so I'm multiplying this out. So this would be x cubed plus 12x squared plus 36x, right? If that was multiplied out. So that would be ax cubed plus 12ax squared plus 36ax. Fun. Alright, now let's do this part. So this is x plus 6 squared. So that would be x squared plus 12x plus 36. So we're going to multiply that whole thing by 4. So remember how we found that b is 4 already? So we're going to use that. So that would be 4x squared plus 48x plus 144. Alright. Next we would just, oh, this one's easier because we've just got c times x squared times x. So cx cubed plus 6cx squared. And then our last part we know is a negative 9, so negative 9x squared. Okay. Oops, squared. There we go. Okay, now we're going to gather up our terms. So x cubed this side we only have a 1x cubed, and on this side we have a plus c. Is that everything? Okay, let's look at our x squareds. This side we have negative 5. Over here we have 12a 4 and 6c. Oh, and also we have negative 9. Alright, I'm not seeing any obvious solve things, although at this point this could be just solved by substitution. We don't even have to keep going because we have 2 equations, 2 unknowns. Ugh. computer's lagging again. So for x, we have 12 on the left, and then on the right, we would have 36 times a, and 48x, and that's it. Oh, well that's convenient. That equation only has a in it. So that's going to be easy to solve. We subtract 48 from both sides, divide by 36. It looks to me like a equals -1. Just from that step right there. So I'm glad I kept going, because I could have solved it from this, but I was hoping if I kept going it would just give me the answer more or less. So 144, here's our constants. Oh, well, wouldn't you know that none of our variables are constant? It's just basically 144 equals 144, which is true, but it doesn't help us to know that. So we still need to find C. So that probably means we should take this answer and plug it in there. So if a is -1, we add it over here. That would tell us that C equals 2. I think we're done. So we have -1 over x plus 4 over x squared plus 2 over x plus 6 plus d was -9. -9 over x plus 6 squared. Ta-da! That was a monster problem.